Welcome to the Real News. I'm Mark Steiner. Great to have you all with us. In the midst of this COVID pandemic, hidden under the radar, no pun intended, is a question. Why is Germany determined to weaponize their drones? And against whom are the German armed drones being deployed? Germany has no real enemies. In 2018, the German parliament's three ruling parties agreed to acquire drones capable of carrying weapons. A strong popular resistance in Germany against armed drones stopped all that, for a moment anyway, saying they can only use them now for gathering information. This time, neither the German Heron TP drones that are leased from the Israeli company IAI or the Eurodrone, which Germany is developing in a joint venture with other European Union countries for NATO, can carry missiles. The agreement mandated that before any vote in the German parliament to arm drones, there has to be a, quote, broad public debate to carefully evaluate, quote, issues of international and constitutional law and ethical implications. So they can't do armed drones. But according to correspondence received from the German Ministry of Defense by members of the German parliament, that ministry plans to sidestep all of that by having broad public debates, as they call them, on their own premises with a restricted group of parliamentarians, journalists, and experts that they will invite, of course, no one else will. The debate is taking place now in a lockdown, but a lockdown, how can you have a public debate? It's a tradition in Germany to hold peace rallies over the Easter weekend, but this year the rallies are virtual. So Peter Clem from the peace group Attack sent this recorded Easter message.
The
consequence of this irresponsible escalation can only be to close U.S. military bases in Germany. The drones with which the U.S. kills in violation of international law are controlled from Ramstein. Europe must cut loose from the murderous U.S. imperialism and develop its own foreign policy. And not just in Germany, and not just because of the drones. Therefore, dear friends, our struggle against Defender 2020, Defender 2022, and 2024 must be joined with the struggle against the U.S. air base in Ramstein, and vice versa.
So where does this all take us and Germany and world peace? We are joined by Elsa Rosbach, who's a filmmaker and a journalist, joining us from Berlin, Germany. She's co-founder of the National Anti-Drone Campaign in Germany, heads the working group against armed drones and the German affiliate of Border Resisters International. She's active in Attack, Code Pink, and the Ramstein campaign. And her documentary short on Iraq war veterans, We Were Soldiers, in the War on Terror, is available now on Amazon. And her dramatic film, The Killing Fields, 1985 award-winning dramatic film about the struggle between black and white workers and justice in the Chicago stockyards in 1919, was just released. And she joins us now, and also welcome, good to have you with us.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So let me take a step backwards in this. So from all the international understandings I've read and have covered before, Germany is not supposed to be allowed to develop these kinds of weapons, correct? Since World War II. So what are we all missing here?
It's true that Germany, after World War II, the German Basic Law, which is the German Constitution that was signed in 1948, I believe, it has a provision in it, Article 26, that there may be no aggressive war from German soil. So everything they're doing with regard to military, they do not define it as aggressive war. Contradiction is that the drone was developed as a weapon specifically for aggression. It's not a defensive weapon. It's just for aggression. And it's been used in ways by the U.S. and also some other NATO partners, but particularly the U.S., as well as Israel, in ways that German basic law and, in fact, international law and most of European law disagrees with. So this is the contradiction.
So, but the question here, so Germany already has troops in a number of countries, part of international peacekeeping agreements in Mali and in Afghanistan. The U.S., is on the Ramstein air base. African is in Germany, where illegal drone strikes are being called. Talk about the struggle going on in Germany between the peace movement, the demands they're making, how it's related to drones, and how public is this?
Oh, the issue of drones and whether or not to have drones has been weaponized drones at least has been an ongoing issue since 2012, when from the CDU defense, that's Christian Democratic Union, the party of Angela Merkel, the ruling party or the largest party, went publicly and said he wanted weaponized drones. And the same thing happened again when von der Leyen became the defense minister. And we say every time there's a new German defense minister, which up till now, the last years, at least going back to 2012, has been CDU. So the new defense minister is called Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer, which is even too difficult for the Germans to pronounce, so they call her AKK. But so that's even in the news. She decided, well, I'm now here, I'm going to get these drones through. So there has been resistance to this weapon going back to 2012 when it was first considered. And a lot of this has been based on sharp criticism of how the U.S. is using the weapon, which is not in line with German law since the defeat of the Nazis. Yeah.
So, but to get to the heart of this, I mean, let's talk a bit about how they're used by the U.S. here, and why the ruling parties really want to have these restrictions lifted. I mean, why does Germany need armed drones? What's the logic they're using to create armed drones, and what's the argument, and how do you stop it?
No, we argue that they don't need this weapon, and that this weapon, even if the current government swears they will not use it in ways that violate international law and constitutional law and ethics, there will be future German governments. We don't want the German government to have this weapon. We think it's, first of all, it shouldn't even be paid for out of the resources. But secondly, this weapon is designed for targeted killing. Let's face it. It was designed to be used by the CIA and by other secret services. It was designed to take decisions about aggressive strikes out of the hands of the parliaments or the U.S. Congress. So this is what this weapon is for when it's weaponized. Now we should, going back, surveillance drones were used by the U.S. during the Vietnam War. Germany had used surveillance drones since 1960. Surveillance drones were used also in the Yugoslavian War. But the issue is, once the U.S. put weapons on the drones and did their first strike, I believe in 2001 in Afghanistan, which was all secret from us in the U.S. I say that as a U.S. citizen, and was secret for a good 8 years, pretty much, as far as public debate was concerned. Once that started, the issue here is whether drones, not whether they should exist, although many disagree with the surveillance purposes, but it's whether they may carry weapons. And there's not something really new because of Corona. What has happened is that this same deadlock, a deadlock between those, not only the peace movement but broad forces in German society, members of the Social Democratic Party, even some members of the conservative parties, are against weaponizing the drones. So the result of that is that there has never been a sufficient majority in the German parliament since 2012 to weaponize these drones. And this is very unusual. And it goes back to the deep consideration of the issue, the issues of the importance of international law that Germans came to recognize after the Nazi regime. There's a huge reflection has been going on, process, German guilt, all of that. And you know that there are great monuments here in memories and commemoration of the victims of the Holocaust. And this has been a fairly deep process in Germany. It's not been total. There's a right-wing movement in Germany, but interestingly enough, this is across Europe, and Germany is only 13th in the list. Germany has about 10% that would vote for the right wing, and in other countries it goes up to 27% and so forth. Even Sweden and Switzerland are ahead of Germany. So there is this deep pacifism, care about international law, and these are the issues that that are supposed to be discussed thoroughly. That's mandated in the ruling coalition's agreement. Discussed thoroughly, broadly, publicly, before drones may be weaponized. This has been the demand since 2012.
So two quick questions here before we end. One is, I'm very curious if you can talk about it, how you found out that the Ministry of Defense was wanted to arm their drones, or was starting to arm their drones. And so what is the plan? What's the political plan moving forward?
Well, the way that we found out is that, as I said, many parliamentarians, including in the Social Democratic Party to a large extent, the Left Party, the Green Party, they all oppose weaponizing the drones. So one of the parliamentarians with whom we're friendly in the SPD, who's spoken out with us and with the POOS movement against arming the drones, gave us the correspondence, that the letters they had received from the Defense Ministry stating that they wanted, it wasn't because of Corona. They originally wrote a letter on February 2nd saying they want to have start the broad public debate in the Defense Ministry, and it was supposed to be the 24th of March. And then they were going to have all these different experts and so forth, but a limited number, and they were going to try to have a vote regarding a discussion paper and get all the parties aligned with their vision and then present it to the German parliament. So we're against that altogether. What really surprised us is that despite Corona and the lockdown, they have written in early April, and we received this also from the German military in answer to correspondence, they're planning to go ahead with this and have this and say that they've had this public debate. But it would be like having a broad public debate sitting in the Pentagon. I mean, it's not really possible, with the Pentagon inviting the witnesses and all. So this is going to be protested by many in the German parliament as well as outside. We have, as they say, we have a very different situation here in the U.S. that is called a parliamentarian army. That is to say, every use of weapons has to be authorized by the parliament, and the parliament has a fairly broad and diverse array of political opinion. We have 6 parties in our parliament rather than 2. Yeah.
So, and finally, just to conclude, it seems to me that this particular question begs a lot of other questions about the Trump administration pushing Germany and other countries to pay more for the military. Germany now has the largest military after the United States inside of NATO, and the world seems to be increasingly arming themselves to the teeth across the globe and in Europe especially. So, so what does this portend about where you think this could take the struggle around that?
Well, in addition to the forces that want to uphold international law in Germany, it's clear that they're not strong enough. Otherwise, once it was revealed, starting around 2013, 2014, through U.S. whistleblowers, that Rammstein is essential for the U.S. drone strikes, Germany could have taken strong action to prevent that. So there are lots of militarists here, and above all, there's weapons industries. Germany was the leading developer of the precursor of drone technology during the Nazi era, and that all their technological info was taken by the U.S. and the Soviet Union, basically, once Germany was defeated. So many have the ambition to compete internationally. They also fear the U.S. They want to be able to have an independent foreign policy from the U.S. It's not an independent foreign policy, however, could be a pacifist foreign policy. It could also be a weaponized foreign policy. It could be that they would say, hey, we're going to head up the European military and we're going to compete with the U.S. militarily, and we'll be able to say no to the U.S. And so there's that going on as well, And so it's interesting that Germany decided, and is the only European country that decided not to go with the weaponizable U.S. MALE drone from General Atomics, Predator and the Reaper, but to go with the Israeli drone. And the reason is that they don't trust whether the U.S. would look into their intelligence that they gathered from the U.S. drones, and Israel will collaborate with Germany, which is leading the effort to have a Eurodrone. But it's still a big issue here in Germany whether also the Eurodrone could be weaponized. If they decide now, if they ever manage to have this debate, public debate and debate in the Bundestag, the German parliament, about weaponizing the drones, which they have not had yet, and it's a requirement of some of the parliamentary parties that they do have it. If they do have it, it will be precedent setting. It will mean that the Eurodrone would not be weaponized in Germany, even if it is elsewhere. It would mean that autonomous weapons could not be weaponized, until something like that was overturned, maybe in a later parliament. But that will be the consequence of it. Mm-hmm. So it's very diverse forces. Uh-huh.
This is fascinating. Elsa Rosbach, I want to appreciate you taking the time with this today. This is a really important subject that is kind of flying under the radar, as I said at the very beginning, and needs to be see the light of day. And thank you so much for your work as a filmmaker, but also your work in the peace movement. Thank you for joining us today.
No, we're going to be reaching out. You asked what we're doing. We are doing a big letter writing campaign in the Corona, and we've done it in 2017, and the majority in the parliament turned down getting even weaponizable drones, and we did it in 2018 and got this binding agreement. There has to be this discussion. Very important were letters from U.S. activists and people around the world who said, we never got a chance in our societies to really discuss this drone issue, and we're grateful that Germany is doing this, and as the only NATO country that has this. So I just wanted to let you know that there will be a link, I believe, on this story, and you'll have information. If you would like to write a brief letter to the German parliamentarians, this could be very effective.
Elsa Rosbach, thank you very much, and that will be up there, and people will be responding, I'm sure. And good to have you with us, and thank you for your work, and appreciate the time you're taking today with us.
Thank you for having me. Okay, good.
And I'm Mark Steiner here with the Real News Network. Thank you all for joining us, and please stay safe, stay home, take care.
Thanks a lot for watching. Appreciate it. But do us one more solemn favor. Hit the subscribe button below. You know you want to. Stay up on the videos.